Nevada, the great silver state and the gold. New tales of Nevada, the stories, people working hard to make a home. Old tales of Nevada.
Hello everybody, welcome to Old Tales of Nevada Past and Present. We have a great show for you today. We're going to talk about a great piece of technology that was developed up there on the Comstock. We'll tell you about it right after this.
You hear it all the time. Buy local, eat local, choose local, grow local, think local. But who the heck really is local? You can shop with locals here in the Nevada Marketplace, in the Reno Town Mall, home of the Buy Nevada First gift shop. We have all things made in Nevada and more. You can spot locally owned businesses where you see this window poster. We're giving them away for free. You can search for locals with our local business directory and free phone app at buynevadafirst.com. Because a business is either Nevada-based, locally owned, or it's not.
Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Paula. We're the producers of the Tanner's Marketplace Antique Show, now at the Reno Sparks Convention Center.
We also want you to know about our everyday location at Somewhere in Time, Antique Antiques, Space 46.
You'll find items from local artists, retro, mid-century, rustic, sports, collectibles, antiques, and much more.
You'll find Nevada art, glass, Native American jewelry, and baskets, unusual to unique items.
Find it all at Antique Antiques at Somewhere in Time, Dealer 46.
Welcome everybody to Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present. I'm John O'Brien, the host of the show. And as usual, with me every week is our executive producer, Roy Marshall. Roy, good to see you again this week.
You bet.
Right, heading into winter and
getting cooler all the time.
Getting cooler and snowy.
Yeah.
Up on the Comstock the other day, it was about 9 inches of snow.
That would should lead to romance.
Yes, that's right. A beautiful place to be, for sure.
Why not?
So Roy's with us today, and we have our special guest who's been on the show before, but now she's here in a different capacity, doing a number of different things. Her name is Pamela Abercrombie, and Pamela, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're going to call you Pam.
Call me Pam.
Call you Pam. Pam is now with the Indian Colony as an education manager, but also, more importantly, and what we're going to focus on today, is her involvement with the Friends of the Sutro Tunnel. And she's on the board there, and we're going to talk about the history of that very famous piece of work that was done up there in the Comstock so that mining could be done up there and could get the ore out without all the encumbrances of all the water that was found up there in those mines. So we're going to have a whole story on that. Always go to Roy, though, before we get started on anything else, and he tells us why we do the show. So, Roy, why don't you go ahead and do that?
You betcha. Well, we have this show to inform people about Nevada, because Nevada is a very great state, and everyone living here should be proud of it. Amongst the many achievements that were extremely important after the Civil War, the United States was totally broke. Mm-hmm. And we owed more than what we were worth to France, Germany, and England.
Exactly.
And the Comstock miners pitched in enough gold and silver in order to come up with $8.5 million for Abraham Lincoln, which bailed him out. And basically, that's how Nevada became a state. But much more than that, the dollar was actually more or less invented in the state of Nevada, with ores from the Comstock,
right,
making up silver dollars. So as the silver dollar spread, the dollar unit also became a unit, which now is a world monetary unit. So we have many things to be thankful for and proud of, and especially the military here that are really developing more and more and better defense and offense for our military.
Right.
Which we appreciate, because we'd like to stay a country over here without anybody else taking us over.
There you go. That's right. So Nevada has a huge amount of history.
Yep.
It's
Great
affected
importance, yeah.
the United States and affects the world as well. And we want people to know about that, and that's why we do the show, so we can have pride in living in this state that we all live in, Nevada. So thanks for telling us that,
You
Roy.
betcha.
And thanks for putting up the funds and resources to get this show on the air every week.
Well, the history
Appreciate that.
is what we really have in the state, and we're going to want everybody to know that.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So, and don't forget, we have a couple of retail operations
Sure.
up there on the
Oh,
Comstock, right?
hotel, Silverland
You got
and
the
the
hotel
suite.
for sure.
Yeah,
And
you're
it's
making-
open for the winter,
Yep.
which is unlike what has happened over the last couple of winters. We're open 7 days a week, 24/7. So we want people to come up there. And Pam, you've been up on the Comstock and used to live there. And you know how beautiful it is
Oh, yeah.
when the snow falls
Oh,
up
yeah.
there.
The views
And
are
what I like about it is you don't have the busyness that you have down here in Reno or even on Lake Tahoe. It's really pristine up
Yes.
there. So if you're up there at the hotel, you can see the snow before it's all trampled by people and cars, and it's just gorgeous up there.
Yes.
Don't you think?
The views are spectacular.
Yeah, especially looking out east
Phenomenal,
there.
yeah.
And the morning sunrise and the sunsets are just unbelievable lately. It's amazing. So come on up to the hotel. What's our reservation number? Up
Yeah, 847-4484.
4484. And Jim and I are doing
a
the
call
management
up there.
services up there. And we're making a lot of friends up there and on the Comstock and down here in Reno and other places. So we're having a lot of fun. But Pam, let's get to you. Want to welcome you to the show again. You used to be on with us in the past
Yes.
when you were with the Comstock Foundation. And we did some great things for the Comstock Foundation. It's kind of a catalyst for what's going on up there in the Comstock as far as preservation is concerned, right? In the south part of the city there and into Gold Hill with the Donovan Mill, you were very involved with some of that work, right?
Yeah, got the project started.
Yeah, got the project started, and now Stephen Saylor is taking over
Keeping
from
it
where you
moving.
left off and doing some good things up there too. But you're still involved in the Comstock because you're on the board with the Friends of the Sutro Tunnel.
Yes, and I
Yeah.
love preservation, and I had a hard time walking away from it. There's
Yeah.
not a lot of money in the business, but it was very difficult to keep the organization going, so I did move on.
Yeah.
However, I was hooked on preservation, and the banquet that we had at the Silverland
Yeah.
was actually the catalyst for getting the Sutro Tunnel project going. That's
Oh.
where I met John Serpa.
Oh, okay.
And he had pledged $10,000
Right, I remember
to get
that.
the project going.
Yeah.
And from there, he and I put together, various pieces, and then he rounded up the board, the Friends of Sutro Tunnel. And from there, we have just made tremendous movement forward. We've
That's great.
transformed the site.
Wow.
There's hardly any sagebrush around the building. First, we started with fire block, or fire barriers, whatever you call it.
Yeah.
And we got it all cleaned up. We are now relaying the ore cart track because it was pretty rotted,
good.
and
Wow.
we're gonna pull it all the way out to where it turns to go to the tailings.
Okay.
We have a really good historic painting that we think the tracks, I always run it past historians, that the track is pretty accurate. The buildings, he said that the person must not have been an engineer because they're too big, they're out of whack on size. But the track's pretty good. So
Oh.
we always, follow the historic timeline to make sure we do everything accurate.
Yeah.
You now can get, in 2016 and 17 when I organized the tours,
Yes.
since then, you can now go in the machine shop, which we have a little museum set up.
Oh, wow.
You can go in the mule barn, which
Uh-huh.
as soon as I can ban the building of pigeons, I will get it completely cleaned. I usually, I call it Pam the Pigeon Poop Patrol. I'm the one who goes in and scoops all the pigeon.
Get 'em out
And
of
then
there.
Dan Webster, he's involved in our core group. He power washes it, and then we linseed oil the floors.
So up until the Friends of the Sutro Tunnel got involved, it was pretty much derelict, right? I mean, there wasn't any kind of effort to arrest deterioration or cave-in or anything like that, right? It just was what it was.
Yeah, well, Pete Leonard, he's still part of Sutro Tunnel Company, he did some renovations in the 80s, and the machine shop, which today we have like a mock machine shop, it's like about a third of the original size. It's been completely redone, but it's what we have for the machine shop.
Okay.
So we consider it one of the original buildings, even though technically it isn't.
Okay.
He also did some restoration of the portal in 1999, 2000.
Okay.
But there was another cave-in in 2008, and then in 2017 there was yet another cave-in.
Oh, no kidding. Wow.
So it's
Well,
really.
was Pete working on that?
Pete he worked on the project in 1999, 2000,
Yeah, yeah.
and then he renovated the machine shop.
Just some general information about the tunnel. We sometimes think of a tunnel that might be a couple of yards long or a quarter mile long or something like that. But this particular tunnel runs from Dayton all the way up into the Comstock to in front of the Savage Mansion, which UROI owns. So
3.8 miles.
Yeah, 3.8 miles.
3.8 miles.
3.8 miles. That's amazing.
1 or 2% grade, so it's not a pipe going or a tunnel going like this. It's
Yeah.
going like that.
Right, right. And if you look at the pictures, it was pretty much all done by hand. They didn't have any
Not day.
power equipment like we see today. So
No.
what I saw was men with pick and shovel.
And no gear, no helmets,
No,
no
nothing.
gloves.
Yeah. How deep did it get? Because they had to go through a mountain range there as it went up that grade, right?
Mm-hmm.
It had to go through some pretty heavy
Bedrock.
bedrock, yeah. So the amount of time it must have taken to do a tunnel like that must have been
1869 it commenced,
Uh-huh.
and they finished up in 1879. We
1879.
just celebrated the sesquicentennial,
Uh-huh.
150 years of the Sutro Tunnel. No, it was 1878. Started in 1869, so that when it started is when we celebrated. And we had a banquet and a fundraiser, and we raised $11,000. Every dollar that we raised goes right back into the project.
That's wonderful.
But it'd be nice to have a coin, maybe.
Actually, we
Yeah,
did.
for sure.
We did.
Yeah.
Yeah. So donors, we have donor levels on our website, thesutrotunnel.org. You can become a donor. At the $1,000 level, you get a framed picture of the Carson City Mint, because we had it minted at the Carson City, and it's Comstock silver. Somebody donated the silver, and then there's a picture of the portal.
Yeah.
Great. We
Yeah.
could put that on the
Yeah.
on the
Now,
show.
Yeah, I'll get you the flyer.
the original,
Yeah.
the original intent of that tunnel was not necessarily to mine any ore. It was to do what?
Drain the mines of the hot water,
Right.
which could get up to, I think, 110, maybe 120.
Yeah, yeah.
And then also ventilation. He actually, out of Sutro, that is, he actually tried for quite a long time to get the money for the project, and he struggled because of the bank crowd.
Right.
They had monopolized everything. And so when they had the Yellow Jacket Fire, which is the greatest disaster in Virginia City history,
Right.
he leveraged that because there would have been ventilation and there would have been an escape route for the miners that perished in the mine.
Oh, if the Sutro had been
If it
developed
had,
at
it
that
had been
time.
developed and had connected to that area.
Okay, super.
So they would have had a.
Okay, well, there's a lot I want to ask about the tunnel and about the developer and all that kind of thing, and we're going to get into that with our next segment. But how long has the Friends of the Sutro Tunnel been active?
Oh, I think a year and a half.
Just a year and a half.
And the last 8 months is when, once we got volunteer insurance,
Okay.
we were able to, I could get our core group, and then we have other groups that come in, the Snowshoe Thompson
Okay.
chapter of the Clampers, they come in and help.
Oh, okay.
That's when I could actually, because I'm the board, I'm the volunteer manager.
Okay.
I was able to unleash their passion for the history
Okay,
as well.
super. Let's take a
Great.
break here, and we'll come back right after these messages, and we'll talk more about the Sutro Tunnel and why it was so important back in those days. And we'll do that right here on Old Tales of Nevada, past and present.
Everything is handpicked here at Precision Diamonds. All jewelry is handpicked here at Precision Diamonds.
Come to Precision Diamonds. I'll fix your jewelry just like new.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988. So ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle, we're the biker's bike shop.
Hi, I'm Dan.
And I'm Paula. We're the producers of the Tanner's Marketplace Antique Show, now at the Reno Sparks Convention Center.
We also want you to know about our everyday location at Somewhere in Time, Antique Antiques, Space 46.
You'll find items from local artists, retro, mid-century, rustic, sports, collectibles, antiques, and much more.
You'll find Nevada art, glass, Native American jewelry, and baskets, unusual to unique items.
Find it all at Antique Antiques at Somewhere in Time, Dealer 46.
Love is in the air. What better time than now to step out of the box and give your loved one the gift that will be loved forever? A new piano from Carpenter's Music World. For now and years to come, play romantic music or any music that will bring love and happiness to everyone who hears or plays. Carpenter's entire stock of Yamaha and Blutner pianos are all on sale through Valentine's Day. So step out of the box with a gift of love from Carpenter's Music World in Reno. It's Winterland at the Silverland Inn and Suites. Enjoy the relaxing, beautiful winter landscapes without the hustle and bustle of the city. The Silverland has a heated indoor pool, hot tub, and fabulous jacuzzi suites. Only 2 blocks from restaurants. Winter rates are now in effect, so make your reservation now and bring your camera and the whole family to the Silverland Inn and Suites for an experience you'll never forget. We're only 30 minutes from downtown Reno and Mount Rose Ski Resort. It's history at its best at the Silverland Inn and Suites in Virginia City.
We're back here in Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. We're talking with Pam Abercrombie, who is on the board of the Friends of the Sutro Tunnel, and a great feat of technology and development up there on the Comstock, which enabled the miners to extract the gold and silver out of those mines back in the day. Who was the developer of the Sutro Tunnel? Who had the vision for that?
The vision, it was, Out of Sutro didn't conceive of the idea. It had already been conceived, and I can't pinpoint who that was, but he's the one who took that idea and pushed it forward.
Okay.
He originally was a merchant when he came to the call to Washoe, and he dabbled in milling a little bit. His mill did burn down, but then he went forward with forging this tunnel, 3.8-mile tunnel.
Right. Now, he didn't have all the money himself in order to put this project together. It took him some time to do that, right?
It took him some time, and by the time it was finished, most of the mines had been mined out.
Right.
And so he saw the writing on the wall, and he sold within a year or two after it was completed, and he then departed with $5 million, departed to San Francisco, where he became real estate, a developer, and a populist mayor.
Yeah, he became a mayor, that's right.
Yeah.
So I heard in his quest for capital to build the tunnel that he had a lot of delays and there was a lot of opposition to it. Why was that?
Well, the bank crowd, who was Ralston, was it Stewart? The bank crowd, they were monopolizing all of the mining in Virginia City, except for the Bonanza Kings. They really couldn't monopolize them.
Right.
And they were fighting it because at one point Sutro wanted to charge for the amount of water that went out. And so they didn't want to pay anything, and then they started fighting him and then, stopping him. He did go to Congress and got an act, a tunnel act, to help fund it.
Okay.
And then, like when I mentioned the Yellow Jacket Fire, he was able to leverage that, and he got $50,000 from the miners' union.
Okay, so
they would sell bonds in order to get the funds. And those guys would help them get the funds from bonds.
So the Yellow Jacket Fire, where a number of miners died, right? How many miners do you recall died in that fire?
There's various historians have various numbers. It's anywhere from like 16, 17 up to 39,
really?
35.
That many?
The average is around 30, 32. That's what I use because it's an average between everybody's numbers.
Okay. So if the Sutro Tunnel had been completed and had tapped into those stopes or whatever they were using at the time, those miners wouldn't have had an escape route.
That's what Out of Sutro had leveraged, yes. That was the theory.
And Yellowtail, it was over there by Crown Point, wasn't it? Down in the Gold Hill area?
Yellow Jacket was right by Crown Point.
Yeah, and there was quite a few mines in that area at that time.
Yes.
Yeah, like New York was there, Crown Point.
There was a John Mackey
Kentucky, wasn't the Kentucky mine? Kentucky, yeah. So it was a very active area.
Yeah, the Belcher was over there.
Belcher was there, yeah. Yeah, it was very, very historic area there.
Oh, yeah. Oh,
And
yeah.
a lot of ore
The
came out of there.
Original little Gold Hill mines were the first ones that
Yeah.
were discovered by
James Fenimore.
James Fenimore.
That's right, yeah.
I was from Virginia.
Yeah, yeah, that's right.
And then
That's right.
Henry Comstock, they
Yeah.
had discovered him. That was the originals, and that was the only mines. Bowers, Mr. Bowers had some of a piece of claim,
Yeah.
and that was the only one that wasn't corporate. All the rest of the mines that came later were corporate businesses.
So the Sutro Tunnel became more viable at the deeper the mines got. In other words, they started at the surface and they get down, 300 feet, 500 feet, 1,000 feet. And finally, they were hitting water, right? That was the problem.
Hot water.
Hot water. And it was a large amount of it, right, Roy, in those mines? And so Sutro then finally got his funding and started to build that tunnel. Now, where did he start from? Did he start from the Dayton area?
Started from Dayton.
Dayton.
And then at one point, they were digging at both ends. And then they had the shafts. There was 4 shafts. The first one was abandoned quickly because it wasn't needed. And then they would haul men or drop men. They put men down through the shafts. And then they had boarding houses there so that they could get to work quicker instead of going all the way through.
Yeah.
They used a lot of explosives to, get
They
through
did.
the bedrock and the digging in the dirt.
Yeah.
There's a building that still exists. It's called the Candle Building, and it also held the explosives, which
Okay.
is someone brought to my attention. You have an explosive and a candle. They do it in the same building.
Oh boy, that's not too good. So
like, I don't know, that's
did
what
they
Facebook
use
says.
square set type of tunneling to support the tunnel as it went through? Do you know,
they
Roy?
could use concrete blocking.
Oh, they did. So they were that advanced.
That's the way it would have to
All
be
the way through.
repaired that way too.
No kidding. Wow.
There's some timbers.
You know how the
There's some
wine,
timbers.
wine outfits over there look in California?
Yeah.
And go underground?
Yeah.
It was done similar to that.
Similar to that. Now, this wasn't just a small tunnel. These are fairly wide.
tunnel,
This is a fairly
Well,
wide
the number I have is 12 feet in diameter.
diameter. Yeah, it's amazing.
That's
Now-
as far as you can go on the Comstock without causing cave-in.
Is that right?
12
yeah.
feet.
12 feet
Yeah.
at a time, yeah.
Yeah.
So how many people worked on the project overall?
I don't have that number, but he did have the town of Sutro, which I do have that number. There was about 700 to 800 people living in the town of Sutro.
I think there was 1,400 people.
1,400 altogether.
1,400 on the project itself. So Mr. Sutro says, okay, guys, here's your pick, here's your shovel. I want to go from here to there.
He hired Herman Schuessler.
Yeah.
And Herman Schuessler is the engineer that engineered the Marlette water system.
Okay.
So Herman Schuessler became the chief engineer. There was
Okay.
another fellow that was, I'm slipping my mind the name, but Herman was the primary engineer on the project.
Okay.
And they used a transit, which I read recently that it was specifically made. It was tailored for the project, and then I believe that it's now at the Keck Museum at University of Nevada, Reno
no
Mackey
kidding.
School of Mines.
Oh.
And then also there's a telegraph machine, which is unique because it communicates in Morse code. And so they would use the telegraph machine in the tunnel to communicate to whoever they needed to.
What direction they needed to go.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what's really cool is it was all based on the angle of the sun.
They used a lot of light calibration, yes.
Light calibrations, yeah.
How do you know that the compass or nothing like that would work underground because
Right.
of the metallic content?
Exactly. Yeah.
So their regular devices wouldn't work, so they had to do that.
So I had this crew up on the surface with this transient and the
Light
sun,
calibration.
and they would then Morse code it somehow
communicate.
down to the
Yeah,
tunnel.
it's amazing. And when they connected with the Savage, it was less than a foot off. There
Yeah.
is somebody out there on the internet that's saying it's like 2 feet, but I've cross-referenced numerous historians and books. It was less than a foot off.
Yeah, I would say that's pretty much of a
Pretty-
bullseye. don't
pretty
you?
darn good
I'm going to
for
show you what rough country that is
878.
too, up top above that.
Oh, it is pretty rough.
It's very rough. No, with a motorcycle.
Yeah.
Out there,
Yeah.
Right up above that.
Yeah, it's tough terrain.
Yeah, very tough terrain.
Tough terrain. A
were
lot of
tough.
bedrock, right?
Yeah, a lot of
Oh, yeah, a lot
bedrock
of
and
Yeah,
hard
yeah.
rock.
I wonder how many people died in the process,
You know,
a cave-in or whatever.
There's a historian at Nevada Historical Society, Arlene LaFerry, who wants to find out that number and wants some kind of recognition. So we're trying to weave that into our project.
Yeah, those miners were kind of heroes,
Yeah.
and fearless. They had to be fearless because, I mean, you go in 500 feet, that's one thing, but when you're in
no
a mile and a
hats,
half.
no gloves, no ventilation mask.
Yeah.
Let alone
How the
1,000
heck?
feet or even 1,500 feet.
No wonder. How long did those miners live back in the day? Roy was
they only
35
worked
or
only
something?
for 6 months at a time.
Yeah.
And then they had to leave and go somewhere else.
They had to get out of there, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, they
That's
could
how
only
they
be in the tunnel
survived.
for how long?
Yeah.
Yeah. It was a bad air.
So when they got up into the Comstock area around the mines, they would break into the various tunnels that were established. All right, and then what did they? How did they decide what level they needed to be at? I heard it was 1,640 feet down, which is quite a ways down, in order to get that water to drain. But I would think that at some point, then that level would be too high because they're going down even lower, right?
Yeah, I'm a historian, not an engineer, so I don't know a lot about the inner workings of the tunnel. I don't know if Mr. Marshall can answer some of those questions.
They were at the 2,300 foot level at the Utah.
At the Utah.
But it maintained a 2,000 foot level all the way back to the Oprah.
Okay, so that means then that the miners had to actually pump their water up at least to the 1,650 level in order to get it to drain down at the Sutro. And that was really the main, wasn't that the first reason why the Sutro became viable, was because the miners were spending a ton of money to pump their water out of the mines in the first place. And then sending it down the hill somehow, It
was out of control.
It was out of control,
That's
basically.
the worst of it. The whole thing became out of control.
And I would imagine some of that water was toxic
A lot of it would be
because of
sulfide
mercury
water,
and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So it seems
Not
to
mercury,
make
but sulfide.
sulfide, yeah. Can you imagine what this place looked like on the Comstock on its heyday? With all this kind of thing going on, it had to be amazing, right?
Oh, yeah.
With all the people, the noise, the machinery,
Virginia
my
City,
goodness.
all those, how many mills? Wasn't there like 60 mills running at the same time?
Yeah. How long did it take them to complete?
Well, he started in 1869 and he finished in 1878.
1878. So he had really gone past the really height of mining up there, because a lot of the mines couldn't mine because of the water levels, or they ran out of money trying to mine all of that ore.
Well, the reason why they had problems with the Comstock, this is the original geology of the Oprah Bonanza that was right in town, just about where the parking lot is at.
Oh, okay. Very
and
cool.
this geology maintains itself again down to the Big Bonanza level. But they never came back up to continue here.
Right.
So they missed all the ore body here that was at a much higher level, because everybody wanted them to go down and to the northeast.
Right.
It took them right into heavy water and right out of the Big Bonanza unit. Because this is a geologic unit, basically.
Yeah.
Composed of 4 different rock units.
So the water problem. Whoa!
There goes Abraham.
There goes Abraham.
There goes Abraham.
He'll be all right.
Okay. Well, listen, let's take a break. We'll get Abe up here and running again, and we'll come back with more in the Sutro Tunnel here on Old Tales Nevada, past and present.
For over 30 years, the Book Gallery has been serving its customers with a wide selection of books, comics, and DVDs. They specialize in Western Americana, sci-fi, romance, and general fiction. Be sure to ask about their trade policy. 30 years and going strong, the Book Gallery, 1203 North Rock Boulevard in Sparks.
A proud sponsor of Old Tales of Nevada, past and present.
For our cold winter days, jackets and vests are the perfect answer. Faux fur and faux leather are the strong fabrics for this season. teamed them with maxi skirts for a beautiful seasonal look. All of this and so much more at Boutique Elegante. The beautiful fall colors are being duplicated in the fall collection of fashions at Boutique Elegante. Sweaters are either in the crayon colors for fall or soft muted shades in bark and beige. All of this and so much more at Boutique Elegante.
All of us at Shoeman's Custom Cycle are ready to get you and your Harley ready for the road. From oil and tire changes to high-performance engine upgrades and dyno tuning, we at Shoeman's have got you covered with experienced factory-certified mechanics and a full-service machine shop loaded with parts and accessories. Shoeman's Custom Cycle has been serving Northern Nevada since 1988. So ride on down to Shoeman's Custom Cycle at 275 East 4th Street in downtown Reno.
Shoeman's Custom Cycle, we're the biker's bike shop.
Somewhere in Time is a place to find what will be treasured for all time. It's a huge store filled with trains and models, collectibles, art, antiques, and more. You might say they have everything under the sun. Almost. Come see it to believe it at Somewhere in Time in Reno.
Deluxe Travel, locally owned and operating since 1991, is the home for travel to Mexico and Central and South America. The crew at Deluxe Travel is bilingual, trustworthy, thorough, and caring. They will do everything possible to make your dream vacation the best it can be. Now is the time to book for winter travel, so stop by the office at 100 California Avenue or call 686-7000. You can also check us out on our website at deluxetravelLTD.com.
At Deluxe Travel, we sell dreams. Come in and plan yours.
Welcome back to Old Tales of Nevada, Past and Present. We always take time out in our third segment to just reintroduce everybody. I'm John O'Brien, the host of the show. Roy Marshall, our executive producer. And our special guest is Pam Abercrombie, who is on the board of the Friends of the Sutro Tunnel, a very historic project that was done up there on the Comstock to haul the water, the underground hot water, get it out of the way so they could continue to do the mining up there on the Comstock. So a very important project, and it still exists today in one form or another. Yes. I wonder how much of the tunnel is actually still viable. You said there was some cave-ins. Is there any thought of going in there and rebuilding the tunnel so you could actually traverse it again?
Well, there's a lot of thought, and I have one of our star volunteers, Bob Thomason, who's heck bent to go all the way through back up to Virginia City so that people can travel it.
Yeah.
But that would be like a $1 billion project
really?
Right now because of the numerous cave-ins.
Yeah.
We believe that there's cave-ins behind where the two up front are.
Wow.
And it's going to have to be engineered.
Yeah.
And then there's a lot of other steps that we have to go through. So we've put that on the back burner for now because we have 6 original buildings that we're working on, grounds maintenance, relaying the ore cart track. There's a lot of things that are more on the forefront of our project.
So there was some ore that came out of there then?
Yeah, Adolf Sutro, actually, he did want it to ore it,
okay.
mine it, but it wasn't really ore, it was just dirt.
Oh,
there really
I see.
wasn't much in there.
Right.
Some people say that there is some ore in the tailings, and that you can mine it or process it and
get more out of there.
Get more out of it.
Sure.
He also wanted people to be transported up and down it, but the only thing, because like we were talking earlier, it was at the end of the big bonanza booms, and the whole mining had waned until they had the cyanide, which came about in 1890, 1901. So he'd finished at the end, and it was like too late because he got delayed so long.
Yeah, it got delayed so long with his financing. But they actually did use it for a while to haul people from Dayton up to
That's what I've heard.
Virginia City, and they went to the Piper Opera.
Oh, they did. The president did. Yeah.
Oh, the president did?
The president
Okay.
did,
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Yeah, there's a couple interesting stories about that.
Is that right?
I've had newspaper articles of that.
Of that happening?
They had, yeah.
That
was one of the biggest occasions.
Yeah, Ulysses S. Grant, who gave a talk right from your Savage patio there.
Yeah.
So, but water really was a big contributor to the demise of mining up there in the Comstock. I mean, if you really think about it, if you can't get the water down, then you can't mine it. So didn't that cause people just to leave the mines, Roy? And
No. What happened was that the major people that were funding the operation believed that there was a vein to the east called the East Vein.
Oh.
So they thought that the only way to really make this thing come back again was to mine that East Spain. So they turned to the north and to the east and then declined at a rapid rate right into tremendous water.
Oh, tremendous water, huh?
And that made Mackey in 1885. He said, I've had enough of it.
Yeah.
He went back and told the guys at the Union. They had a place where they met in the Union mine.
Oh, no kidding.
But the Citro Tunnel run right by the Union mine and up to that level where they met.
It's amazing, isn't it?
So they had like a banquet room and everything in there. Yeah, they
underground bunker, huh?
Partied
Underground.
Yeah, well, you said it actually connected to your porthole, the Sutro mine, not the Sutro Tunnel, actually connected to the Sutro mine, which is further, quite a bit further north.
The Sutro mine that I have was developed by Adolf Sutro in 1859.
Oh, okay.
He worked that until 1860, 63 or so, and then went into the engineering of the Sutro tunnel.
Tunnel, wow, that's amazing, isn't it? So
he made about 400 grand in gold from the mine.
From that mine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Wow. And that's what Roy says, that northern part of the Comstock still has plenty of ore in there.
It's really rich gold,
I wonder how they get rid of the water now. I guess if you're going to do deep mining.
Well, you build a sump and then put the pump in there. Water comes down, gets in the sump, and then pumps it out.
Pumps it out. So if say you wanted to start mining up there again, you're right, and you hit the water and you pump it out, where do you pump it out to? Where does it go? Where did it go in the Sutro?
Pump it out and it has to be recycled, which is very expensive.
Yeah, where did they pump the Sutro water to?
It drained like a pipe.
Around the pond.
And then they had
a pond.
The pond, which was used for fire suppression, and also the story is that Mr. Sutro loved frog legs, and so he raised frog legs. The pond today is about 20 yards shorter than, or to that'd be the west, where the machine shop is. It used to come up almost to the machine shop, and now it's down a little bit more.
Okay.
Because at one point it was draining 3.5 to 4 million gallons a day.
Wow.
And so it filled up that pond pretty well, and then there was an overflow that went out. He thought it would go all the way to the Carson River, but it never made it to the Carson River.
Oh, it didn't make it there. That's what I was thinking, that they would dump it into the Carson.
But he captured it in the pond.
He did capture it in a pond.
For agriculture as well.
They were doing a lot of refining on the Carson River, and it was pretty toxic, really.
Yeah,
and I imagine the water was, like you said, was probably pretty toxic coming out of those mines too.
Well, not so bad out of the Citro.
Yeah.
It's not bad today.
It's not bad today.
No,
sometimes it's warm though.
Now you say that there's water still coming out of the Sutro.
It's about
what kind of volume?
20 varies from 26 gallons to 30 gallons a minute, and I did the math. That's about 400,000, maybe. That 400,000 gallons a day.
A day, so it's a pretty good.
It's pretty good,
volume.
but not like not the 4 million that it was.
So
back
even
in
with
the
the cave-ins, it doesn't stop the flow. It evidently went through those cave-ins.
Yeah, there's a blockhead about 1,000 feet in, and I believe Houston Oil, they were trying to revitalize a project out there, and they, from what I've been told, they also fixed some cave-ins as well, and they put a blockhead about 1,000 feet back.
What's a blockhead? What is that?
It's just a big concrete wall holding the bulk of the water.
Oh, I see.
Bulkhead, sorry.
A bulkhead.
Bulk of water.
Yeah, so if that wasn't there, it'd be a lot of...
everybody out of the dangerous area. Too.
Okay, so you'd be seeing a lot more water if that bulkhead wasn't there, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Now, how do you determine where these cave-ins have happened? How do you know?
Well, you can see two. There was one that occurred in 2008.
You can see on the surface?
And when you look in the portal.
Oh.
And then we discovered after the 2017 cave-in, which is just right before it, I started walking around, and my friend Brandon Wilding from he's a real local historian as well, from the Snowshoe Thompson, he actually discovered that it's all completely open.
Oh.
And they didn't backfill over where they did the restoration of the portal.
Oh.
So we had a heavy rainfall that year, and it came down the hill, and it just pulled everything into it.
Oh.
But also what I'm hearing is the timbers that are there, because of the water, it's rotting the timbers.
Oh.
So, if we go to fix the portal, at least to get back maybe to the bulkhead, we have to do a little bit of creativity, within the boundaries that we can to prevent the timbers from rotting.
Yeah.
I was there, it's a few months ago, probably over the summer, standing next to the portal, and I heard what sounded like thunder.
Ooh, ooh.
So I wonder how much more cave-ins are further back.
Yeah. How far can you get into the portal?
The portal the first cave-in is about, the most recent cave-in, which is the first one, is about 20 yards in.
Oh, just 20 yards, huh? Yeah, okay.
And then the one is just right behind it, practically fell right in front of it.
No kidding, really? So there's no access to it?
No, it's locked. There's a
happened
lot of
was,
safety issues.
In 1945, we had a very bad earthquake here.
Oh.
And an earthquake which was up there.
Yeah.
And all the early mines had major cave-ins.
Yeah, yeah. Now, did anybody ever go into competition with Sutro on that kind of a project? Thinking maybe they could do it better or go deeper or bring the water out in a different way?
I don't. From my knowledge, I don't think anybody was ready to
who we got here?
undertake something like that.
What's this?
It's like Santa's come.
Oh boy, it's a little early for him to be hanging around, don't you think?
Yeah, he must be on his early rounds.
That's right.
That's when he hits the older folks.
Yeah, yeah. So now that we have a pretty good idea about the history of the project there, he finally sold. Right, he finally sold, and who would be dumb enough to buy that tunnel at that
Well, it was
point?
Sutro Tunnel Company, so he sold his shares.
Uh-huh.
Oh, and I just heard recently from a historian that he was selling his shares because he saw the writing on the wall. He was selling a lot of his shares to not make a lot of noise.
Oh.
And so then when he finally decided to sell all the rest of them, his brother Theodore Sutro actually took over the company.
Okay.
And he kept it alive, and then that's when the Leonard family came on. They bought it from Theodore.
Okay, so when did the whole project close down? What was do you remember the year that it stopped operating?
It operated in different facades. I'm not really, Dan Webster's more knowledgeable about what happened out of Sutro. It was water company. They did try to bring ore when they were trying to, at American Flats, when they were trying to mine all that dirt.
Yeah.
They were bringing it out through there. I think I would say the 1940s.
They went that far?
There was the superintendent was living in the mansion, and I think it was 1941. And he had fired somebody.
Mining was outlawed in 1941 to 43.
Yeah, Uroy owns that mansion, by the way. The Savage Mansion.
Oh no, the Sutro Mansion.
Oh, the Sutro Mansion.
Out of Sutro's mansion.
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
he and the superintendent fired somebody, and then the guy came and burned down the mansion and tried to keep the people, his family, the superintendent's family, and so we lost this big, beautiful mansion.
Oh, too bad.
That had all these amenities that somebody in the 1870s wouldn't have had.
Oh wow!
You was a great book collector.
Yeah, wow.
Yes,
well,
right.
listen, let's take a break again, and then we can come back and we'll talk about what your future plans are for the project, and how people can get involved and how they can visit and all those neat things about the Sutro Tunnel right here in Old Tales of Nevada, past and present.
For over 30 years, the Book Gallery has been serving its customers with a wide selection of books, comics, and DVDs. They specialize in Western Americana, sci-fi, romance, and general fiction. Be sure to ask about their trade policy. 30 years and going strong, the Book Gallery, 1203 North Rock Boulevard in Sparks.
A proud sponsor of Old Tales of Nevada, past and present.
Everything is handpicked here at Precision Diamonds. All jewelry is handpicked here at Precision Diamonds.
Come to Precision Diamonds. I'll fix your jewelry just like new.
You hear it all the time. Buy local, eat local, choose local, grow local, think local. But who the heck really is local? You can shop with locals here in the Nevada Marketplace in the Reno Town Mall, home of the Buy Nevada First gift shop. We have all things made in Nevada and more. You can spot locally owned businesses where you see this window poster. We're giving them away for free. could search for locals with our local business directory and free phone app at buynevadafirst.com. Because a business is either Nevada-based, locally owned, or it's not.
Somewhere in Time is a place to find what will be treasured for all time. It's a huge store filled with trains and models, collectibles, art, antiques, and more. You might say they have everything under the sun. Almost. Come see it to believe it at Somewhere in Time in Reno. Love is in the air. What better time than now to step out of the box and give your loved one the gift that will be loved forever? A new piano from Carpenter's Music World. For now and years to come, play romantic music or any music that will bring love and happiness to everyone who hears or plays. Carpenter's entire stock of Yamaha and Blutner pianos are all on sale through Valentine's Day. So step out of the box with a gift of love from Carpenter's Music World in Reno.
Come to Precision Diamonds. I'll fix your jewelry just like new.
We're here for our last segment of Old Tales of Nevada, past and present. Glad to have you with us this week. And we have a great story talking about the Sutro Tunnel, and have Pam Abercrombie, who is the on the board with the Friends of the Sutro Tunnel, but also the education manager for the Reno Sparks Indian Colony.
Yes.
Which is a cool position to have.
Oh, I love it.
Because you're administrating and helping that group. It's the Paiutes, right?
Paiutes, Western Shoshone, Northern Paiute, Western Shoshone, and the Washoe. It's unique because of how the folks, the indigenous people, ended up in Reno, that they were able to form their tribal government.
Yeah, that's wonderful.
She was in charge of the previous historical.
Yeah, the Comstock Foundation.
Yeah,
right.
the
She did that.
Comstock
Yeah, we
Foundation too, yeah.
That's where we first met Pam, up there on the Comstock.
Yeah, history up
there.
Yeah.
So here we are. We're in 2019, December. Your board has become very active, and evidently has some money to do things, and have dedicated themselves to restoration and preservation of the site where the Sutro Tunnel resides. Now, they used to call that a city, right? They used to call it Sutro City?
The town of Sutro.
The town of Sutro, which was right next to Dayton?
Yeah, the town of Sutro, the operations was kind of up on the hill, and then there's a little slope, and then the town of Sutro. There's a really good picture that you folks have that shows the town of Sutro and the operation site. And then I've marked where the original buildings that we still have today.
Okay.
There's little marks on all the buildings that we have today that we're trying to save.
Okay.
Pam,
So-
were these Indians that you're working with, are they Paiutes or are they?
The Northern Paiute, Western Shoshone, and Washoe.
They're Northern
Yeah,
Paiutes.
it's a collaboration there.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
how many people were in Sutro City at the height of the operation?
I think, Mr. Marshall had said there's 1,400 because in the town, of course, they had their families, and that was about 700 to 800 people that lived in the town during the
Wow,
peak.
no kidding.
But
That
there
many.
was a significant decline after Sutro left because the operation was
Now,
done.
who were the nationality of the miners? Was it mostly the ones from England in that area, or German, or
There was an assortment, just like all of Virginia
Chinese?
City. There wasn't any Chinese. There wasn't Chinese
There's
labor.
4 different groups.
4 different groups?
The
yeah.
Cornish.
The Cornish is the one I was thinking.
Early
of.
ones.
The
from
Irish.
England.
Irish. Yeah. Who were the best miners? Was it the Cornish?
I
don't know. Or the Irish.
Well, they would say they were for
Yeah,
sure.
so were the Irish.
You know how the British are.
And so were the Czechoslovakians.
Yeah. Did they have certain sections
In the town?
In the town.
I don't think
like
so.
a Chinese town, an Irish town, Cornish.
No.
None of that went on, huh? They all. I guess if you're in a tunnel together, you live together,
You
right?
live together.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
So,
the fires and stuff happened, binded everybody together because there was many fires,
Yeah.
little fires.
so did the miners, when they went in, say they were in that tunnel about 2 miles, okay? Did they come out every day, or did they bunk in the tunnel too?
They didn't bunk, but there was boarding houses along the lateral going up to where they were digging above the tunnel. There was boarding houses and shafts where they would stay so that they could get to their location quicker.
Oh.
But you are not mentioning one important part about the operations.
What?
and that was the mules.
Oh, the mules,
The
yeah,
mules.
right.
The mules, they were cherished, they were loved, they were cared for, and they were their companions while they were in the tunnel.
Oh.
They tried horses to pull the carts first. Oh, I'm sure they should have walked in first.
Yeah.
But then they tried horses, but horses were a little bit taller, and they couldn't handle the dark, and they kept
Too jumpy.
Jumpy, too jumpy.
So they switched to the mules. They did go blind. Some of them went blind because they were in the dark for so long.
Yeah.
But they were well taken care of. I think the last mule passed in the 40s, and,
No kidding.
and it was, not celebrated, but it was, they were cherished. The mules were cherished. They were taken well care of.
Yeah. So when they're in the mine, was kerosene lamps, I suppose, is what they used for electricity, right?
Kerosene and candles.
Candles too, yeah. And did you run into anything like gas, like explosive gases there inside those mines? They didn't have that problem there, huh?
No.
Oh, okay, because in some mines, that's a big,
It
that's
was
a big
out
problem.
of the ore for the most part.
Oh, it was, okay, good. So what are you doing now? I mean, what is it going to take to bring this whole project to fruition for you so that you could use it for tourism and historical information? What's your plan as you go forward?
Well, the goal, we always want to look at the goal before you develop a plan, right? And the goal is public access because it's been cut off from the public for so many years. There was, an era where there was quite a few people living out there, but since then it's been, just cut off from the public. When we did the tours, we found out the first tour was like 350 people, the second tour, 400 people, then 300 people.
Yeah.
People in San Francisco love it because of Adolf Sutro.
Right.
So public access is the goal. Right now, the Sutro Tunnel Company leases the land that's 26 acres to the Friends of Sutro Tunnel. And so we are generating donations. We hope to become a nonprofit soon. We're working on that. But we've raised quite a bit of money. We have on the board is John Serpa, Rob McFadden. He's a businessman, developer in Carson City. Sam Landis, who's a contractor in Carson City. And then we have George Thiel, who's a hydrologist.
Okay.
And then we have Kurt Brown, who's a retired businessman.
Yeah.
And then we also have Dwight Millard, who's a retired businessman. And then Kit Carson. No, I call him Kit Carson.
Kit Carson.
They call him Kit Carson Weaver.
Okay.
He was the assessor for Carson City for about 20 years.
Okay.
So we have some really good
talented
Carson City folk.
Yeah.
And then I kind of serve as the volunteer manager and a historian. And so a lot of the board has donated to the project. I donate a lot of time. Rob McFadden has donated a lot of time organizing the office management
That's
pieces.
Great. That's great.
Sam Landis has donated a lot when we saved the mule barn because the mule barn was like one windstorm away from falling. There was no center support. But in a mule barn, do they have center support?
I don't know.
So there's a serious sag or swag.
Yeah.
Every time I went out there, I was like, we're going to lose that building. Just like we recently lost a wall in the Candle building because a rock rolled down and took out the bricks. So now we have to shore it up, and then a professional bricklayer has to come in and.
Are you getting some help from the tradesmen and construction folks?
We only ask for volunteers that are skilled laborers. From the Comstock Foundation, I came to learn that if you just put it out to anybody and everybody, you don't get a lot of follow through, and then you also get a lot of people that you need to pay more attention to than getting them to help.
Right.
So right now we have a core group that are historians, engineers, and then we had a plumber. We hope he comes back. They're all skilled folks.
Okay.
And so. We kind of run the core group. We've cleaned out the mule barn.
Isn't it pretty much out of the winter weather problem?
Right now, we don't really want to.
Further down the hill.
Yeah, it's pretty wet out there, and because we just
the snow.
Yeah, we just did a lot of ground maintenance, and we started relaying the ore cart track. We don't want to put a lot of runs from
Now, is it a dirt road back to the tunnel area? Oh, you
can't.
It's not paved. It's not paved.
That's not good because tourists. And
yeah,
stuff,
they'll tear it up. Yeah. But as far as having more people join the group, are you open for that?
Oh, we have membership levels. Level 1, I think, is $100. and it goes up to level 5, and you can donate. $1,000 gets you our commemorative coin, or
You're right, you mentioned
coin.
that.
And then also there's special tours. I do bring in our local historians to give nice tours.
Yeah.
You can, I think, one level you can have up to 20 special guests for a tour.
And what does the tour include? What are you going to go through some of the buildings and then also
go
to the
through
porthole?
I bring in Pat Nealon. He's a phenomenal Sutro historian.
Yeah.
And he tells the history of the mansion. That's his favorite spot.
Yeah.
All we have is the ruins now.
Yeah.
But we go through the mule barn, the machine shop. The wood shop is another one that we've cleaned out. I've cleaned out 3 times now. And
wow.
So I've got it sealed up. The floor's been power washed. We just need to linseed oil it.
Wouldn't it be cool if, I know back east, where they had the Revolutionary Wars and stuff like that, they have the small towns, and they're not lived in by regular residents, but they've restored the buildings, and they bring in docents, and they actually do the blacksmithing, and they're in the bake shops, and it's really cool. And then it's an active demonstration, so when you go in there, you can actually see, what they baked in those days, how the blacksmith worked, and so on and so forth.
Sure.
So
that'd be really cool.
Yeah, when we get to that point, we've already been offered mules twice. I'm like, we're not ready for mules.
Yeah.
But to share it with the public, that's the whole goal.
Wouldn't that be something?
We do have. We still have the warehouse we need to clean out and redo the loading dock because it was totally a mess. So we just tore it down, and now we need to redo it.
Now, does the Sutro family itself have any interest in the Sutro tunnel?
Not that
any of the
found.
heirs, any of the kids, or
we haven't sought them out.
we haven't sought them out, but they're probably all in San Francisco now. But nobody has come to you and say, "Wow, it was my great-great-grandfather who started this whole thing."
Yeah, no, we
I haven't seen that yet, huh? Well, probably because it's been so segregated from the public view for so long.
Yeah.
Now that you're getting some publicity about it, do you have a website?
We have a website, thesutrotunnel.org, and then we also have a Facebook page, which if we had 8 days a week, I could dedicate, one day to Sutro, or 2 days to Sutro, because I already do dedicate one day, but it's usually on the site working.
Yeah. Well, that's great. You're hearing this jingling in the background. It's a visitor from the east. He's a friend of yours, he says.
Santa Claus?
Yeah. Santa Claus,
I guess.
Santa Claus.
Well, here on Old Tales in Nevada, we have a tradition with Pamela. And she remembers it from last year.
Oh, that's right.
The elf ears.
When she was on before.
This time I'll smile, right?
Yes.
Let's put it on front.
Oh, there you go.
Jingles are. There we go. There we go.
On the side, and that's perfect. See, now you wear that hat, and you're talking to those people, those bricklayers and stuff like that. They will pay attention to that.
Yeah, I think she ought to wear that to the board meetings, don't you?
And a candy cane for a good girl who works so hard for
Well, listen, we got to close her up here. We'd like to thank you and Pam and you, Roy, for bringing us a great show today. And especially our audience, thank you for being with us today. Invite you back next week for another episode of Old Tales in Nevada, Past and Present. In the meantime, for everybody on the panel here, we want to wish you a great Nevada day, and we'll see you next week on Old Tales in Nevada, Past and Present.
Under blue Nevada sky, with a hot sun in his eye, Hugh Roy walked the elk and wild horse trail. Studied earth and sand, with a shovel in his hand. Struck bonanza, gold and silver, platinum ore. Was an old miner's code for good luck to name the strike, so we called it the martial law.